Introduction to Journalism and Mass Communication. Subject code MJM 020. Block Introduction. Introduction to Communication. This is an important block as it introduces you to those aspects of communication which you, as a first-time learner, may not be familiar with. These concepts are the foundation or the building blocks of different areas of the discipline. Unit 1. Communication. Concept and process emphasizes the definition, concept and process of communication. It teaches you what is effective communication and barriers of communication. You will also learn about the development of communications, media and forms of communication. Last and the most important, it teaches you about the social construction of reality and how culture is placed in it. Unit 2. Models of communication. This introduces you to the various communication models which are a systematic representation of the process which helps in understanding how communication works. They are the conceptual models explaining the human communication process. Unit 3. Theories of communication. This focuses on how media operates under a prevailing set of conditions and values. It speaks about the way of looking at events, organizing them and representing them. Various theories are covered in this unit: psychological theories, sociological theories, critical and cultural theories, and media society theories. Unit 4. Communication research. It is a broad overview of media and communications research. It tells you what is research, what are the types of research, and how to go about it. You will also learn about the steps of research and different research methodologies. With this, you would come to the end of the first block in Introduction to Journalism and Mass Communication. Further, blocks would deepen your knowledge on the conceptual understanding you have made in this block. So let's begin with Unit 1, that is communication, its concept and process. Unit 1.0 Introduction. What exactly is communication? The word is derived from the Latin word communis, which means to make common. Communication at the simplest level involves understanding what someone conveys and means, and in turn making someone else understand what you mean. However, for communication to take place, it is important for some basic understanding to exist, which is possible only when the two people feel and think about that subject on common lines. The more the commonness between two people, the better the communication gets. In the parlance of communication, the person who sends a message or communicates is called sender or source, and the one who receives it is called the receiver. A well-known media expert, Dennis McQuaid, in his book Mass Communication Theory, defined communication as the process that increases commonality but also requires elements of commonality to occur at all. Many social scientists have attempted to define communication from different perspectives. One of the oldest and most widely quoted one is from a Western political scientist, Harold Laswell, 1948, who posed some questions, the answers to which would have communication defined as who says what in which channel to whom with what effect. Channel here stands for the medium of communication, which may be language, book, or even a small medium like radio, television, or newspaper. The effect is the common understanding that communication aims at building. According to John C. Merrill and Ralph L. Lowenstein, communication is a meeting of minds, a bringing about of a common set of symbols in the minds of participants, in short, an understanding. Unit 1.1 Learning Outcomes. After reading this unit, you will be able to 1. Analyze communication, its process and need. 2. Describe forms of communication and effective communication. 3. Development of communications media. 4. Differentiate between conventional and new media. And 5. Interpret how media plays a role in social construction of reality. 1.2 Need for communication. Communication is as important a need for all living beings as is food and shelter. All living beings invariably communicate within their community, be it the evening call of the birds to return back to their homes or barking of dogs in protest when a non-member enters their territory, or the dance of the honeybees to convey to other members where nectar can be found. For human beings too, this is a natural, individual and social need, as man is a social animal. No normal human being can exist in isolation, irrespective of his age, gender and interests. Unit 1.2.1 Communication process. Communication leads to creation of meaning that gets shared between the participants as a continuous cyclic process. What the sender shares with the receiver is knowledge or information based on his own individual experiences. What the sender understands as an outcome of those experiences is what he further conveys to the receiver. So, one common functional definition for communication can be a cyclic process of sharing of experiences between two or more participants. This brings us to the process of communication. The process of communication involves four basic elements: the sender, the message, the channel, and the receiver. What is called the SMCR model of communication. The representation below, that is figure 1.1, indicates how communication which takes place in a cyclic process is. The sender initiates communication by sending a message, and the receiver or the audience are the ones who receive it. Message is the actual content that the sender desires to convey, and the channel is the medium of conveying that message. Channel, the medium of conveying the message, can be mass media, language, gestures, body language, signs, and symbols. When the sender sends a message through some channel to the receiver decodes that message in his brain, makes meaning out of it, that is interpreting, and then encodes the response of that message in his mind and conveys it back to the sender. This process of conveying back is called feedback, an important component in the process of communication. Feedback indicates whether what has been understood is what the source or sender meant, or is it different from the source's understanding. While receiving the feedback, the sender becomes the receiver and the receiver becomes the sender. Effective communication. A communication is considered effective if it produces the desired results. For example, if a political leader through his speech is able to motivate the electorate to cast their votes for him, his communication may be termed as effective. Alternately, a child tends to take the warning or instructions of his parents or teachers seriously but will not listen to a stranger. His parents' communication to him is effective, but the latter is not. From both the examples, it is clear that it is the relationship between the source and the receiver that communicates. It is this factor that decides how the meaning would be interpreted at the receiver's end. The perception of the source by the receiver or the trust factor that exists in their relationship decides how positively the receiver would respond. The perception of the source by which the receiver or the trust factor that exists in their relationship decides how positively the receiver would respond to the source's message. Any communication is called effective if the meaning of the message interpreted by the receiver is the same as that desired by the sender. The effectiveness of the message would be clear from whether or to what extent any desired behavioral change is brought about in the receiver. This is also termed as a feedback, which can be in words and or actions. The response that a communication message emanates in the receiver is termed as feedback. Feedback may be positive, negative, or neutral. When an employee continues to come late to office despite repeated reminders, it is a negative feedback as the communication is not having the desired response on the employee. When a student makes all efforts to meet the assignment deadlines of a teacher, it is a positive feedback as it is the result of the high regard the student may have towards the teacher, and hence the teacher's communication is termed effective. When a voter does not exercise his right to vote, leave alone voting in favor of or against a political leader, then it is called a neutral feedback as the communication did not have any effect on him. Barriers to communication. There are certain barriers to communication which may hinder its effectiveness. These may be of varied types. 1. Communicating to the receiver at a wrong, inconvenient time. 2. The message communicated is distorted, that is, changed in the meaning of the message due to noise or some reason. Noise is termed as the change that is introduced in the message so that its meaning does not remain what was intended by the source. Information overload is yet another barrier, as every individual has a limited attention span during which he or she is receptive to communication messages. Besides technical barriers, there are also language and psychological barriers to communication. Language barriers may be of two kinds. 1. Vocabulary, that is, use of difficult words that the receiver may not understand. And 2. Semantics, that is, when the meaning of the message is not clear to the audience or what the audience understands is different from the source meant. Psychological barriers may include these factors. A. Noise. Sometimes when the student in the class is thinking of an India-Pakistan cricket match that is to take place that evening, what the teacher is talking may be noise to him. Alternately, any disturbance in the frequency of a radio channel can create disturbance and the audience may not be able to hear what is being broadcasted. B. Perception set differences. Over a period of time, individuals build a certain tendency to perceive a message in a certain way. For example, some people believe what advertisements claim about a certain product as their experiences with it may be positive. Alternately, there may be others who may not believe such messages as their experiences with the same product or service may not be satisfactory. This tendency is called perception set. Due to difference in experiences, value systems, beliefs and social realities of individuals difference in perception. Due to difference in experiences, value systems, beliefs and social realities of individuals difference in perception set will always exist, due to which a message may not have the same effect on all individuals. C. Lack of trust and jealousy. There may also be the reasons why a message may not have the desired effect on the audience. D. Information filtering. The receivers have a tendency to accept only those messages that they find are of interest to them or reinforce the notions and beliefs that they already have. They filter such information and leave out the rest, thereby becoming another psychological barrier. Forms of communication. Unit 1.3. Having known what communication is, what makes it effective, and what reduces its effective capacity, it is also important to know the different forms in which this process is carried out. Though we are exposed to each of these forms in our daily lives, we may have never paid any attention to it. Communication scholars agree that there are four basic forms of communication. Intrapersonal communication. This is the kind of communication in which there is only one participant who is the sender as well as the receiver. This is also known as auto-communication or introspection. Talking to oneself is a good example for this. 2. Interpersonal communication. This communication takes place between two participants and the exchange may be formal or informal. It is the most ideal kind of communication as the sender can get feedback instantly and it is one-to-one communication. The sender also studies the body language, that is gestures, postures, facial expressions, etc. of the receiver, which gives ample idea of what the receiver means and whether what is said is also what is meant. Influencing and persuading the other person is also easy and there is greater scope of appealing to the receiver emotionally by means of motivating, encouraging and coordinating. It is also known as dyadic communication. Group communication. This is an extension of interpersonal communication and the exchange involves more than two people where the participants get a chance to express themselves on subjects of common interests. This communication serves many goals like collective decision making, self-expression, and relaxing and is effective as it gives opportunity to interact directly with the receivers. One common aspect of such a communication is that it sees the emergence of a leader who coordinates the communication within the group. Mass communication. This is a communication that takes place with the help of a mechanical device that multiplies messages and takes it to a large faceless audience simultaneously. The use of mass media like newspaper, radio, television and internet is needed in this kind of communication. The source and the receiver are physically separated in time and space. The audience is anonymous and heterogeneous. The feedback in mass communication is slow, weak and delayed. Different forms of the above mentioned communication are effective in different communication contexts. The widest reach is of mass communication, but the most effective is interpersonal communication. For example, to make the general public aware of a new product, advertisements and publicity are the best ways for which use of mass media is mandatory. On the other hand, for a desired change in an individual's behavior, like quitting smoking, it is more fruitful to counsel him personally. That is, interpersonal communication would be more effective. Unit 1.4. Development of communication media. When there was less communication and communication channels in the society, people lived on the basis of equality as there was no hierarchy among people. Later, those who controlled the channels of communication emerged stronger while the others were weak. With changing times and technology, the communications media developed as people realized the subtle though strong effect media could have in influencing public opinion. In the earlier societies, it was the number of women a man had that determined his status in the society. Later, the number of cattle one owned was indicative of one's status. Even later, it was how much land one had that determined it, and then it was the riches that counted most. These stages of societal development on the basis of economic development are identified as: number 1, pre-agricultural societies. There were small communities that existed with mostly spoken words as their means of communication and comprised of hunters and food gatherers. 2. Agricultural societies. People practiced agriculture to earn their living, and writing came into being, and these were more developed societies with a complex social structure. But a huge chunk of population still remained illiterate. 3. Industrial societies. This was the machine age and was marked by the publication of Gutenberg's Bible in as early as 1455. This drastically improved the speed of book printing that was earlier copied by hand by the use of movable metal type. Mass production became the mantra, and industrial production was centered in cities, which led to a huge migration of people from rural to urban areas. Jobs in these industries became more important than farming. 4. Information society. The second half of 1900s saw the emergence of information societies primarily in the US. But from the second half of the century till its end, most economies of the world had drifted towards it, because of which media became much more important than before. One important invention of the time was computer that became the main tool to handle information, its creation, processing and distribution. Today information is power. Those who have better sources of information are more resourceful and stronger in the society. They are the opinion leaders and are listened to, while others do not wield such a control. The information society has also seen different conventional media forms merging together into one, thus becoming cheaper, more accessible and faster. The conventional media forms that comprise different communication technologies merge together into a computer-readable digital form. The earlier technologies were analogous or linear in nature, while digital technologies could be stored and used in any format and were easy to use. This process of merging of technologies to give better output of more than one conventional media technology is called convergence. For example, a mobile phone serves the purpose of a phone as well as a computer, as emails can be accessed on it and internet can be browsed. Also, a computer acts as television, as channels can be accessed on it. Television and computers, on the other hand, have made DVD players outdated. All these examples show how the output of more than one technology can be had from a more compact and cheaper technology. Also, these technologies are interactive, which makes feedback an inclusive process of communication. It enables the improvement of message. This fast exchange of information through cyber networks has led to coining of the term information superhighway, irrespective of the communication objective, which may be social networking, e-commerce, e-governance, or professional communication. Before we delve further into this discussion of the 21st century technology, let us take a view of the characteristic features of conventional media that dominated the communication media scene for long and the new media that has lately emerged. Newspapers. The ancestors of newspapers were called courantos, which were news sheets that were published as long back as 1620s in England and Holland with irregular periodicity. Later, around 1640s, diurnals appeared in England that were dailies publishing reports on domestic events. They were the actual ancestors of the newspapers we see today. At present, we have two formats in which newspapers appear: broadsheets, that is, for example, the Indian Express, the Times of India, and tabloids, for example, Mail Today and Mint. Broadsheets are the morningers that carry hard news and opinions based on them, while most tabloids are eveningers or evening papers that are more of news magazines or newspapers. While broadsheets come up with fresh news, tabloids carry features and detailed stories based on them. While the advantage of newspapers is that they sell cheap, they can reach out only to the literate section of the population. Over the last 6 to 7 years, a lot of experimentation has been done in Indian newspapers, from reducing their sizes in order to make them portable to dividing them into as many sections as can be covered in order to cater to maximum number of readers. Innovations are also brought out to market. Innovations are also and as a viewpoint. While the circulation is dying out in the West, in India they are soaring high. Magazines. The earliest magazine was published in England in 1730s. Though they primarily focused on politics, they were then called miscellanies as they carried a wide variety of contents. In the later part of 1800s, magazines made efforts for popularizing magazine reading, and there was a widespread growth due to increase in literacy, reduced costs to ensure greater sales, and because in that era of industrialization, more and more businesses wanted a platform to put forth their advertisements and publicity messages. Today, magazines are generally classified into general interest and special interest magazines. The first category is of those magazines that cover a number of subjects to cater to wider masses. For example, India Today, Outlook, etc. And the second category is the one that caters to a niche audience. For example, Better Photography, National Geographic, and Business World. Most newspaper groups own the magazines that one generally sees on the newsstands. The reason that when the ad flow increases, the newspaper's capacity to publish also increases. Newspaper groups come up with sister concerns in the form of magazines that have longer shelf life and hence make advertisement publication a costlier affair. Radio. Radio was first invented by an Italian named Marconi in the 1890s. He is called the father of radio. Broadcasting or transmitting voices and music to a geographically separated large audience had begun through telephone itself, which was invented by Alexander Graham Bell before the advent of radio. That is when radio became a mass medium. In India, the first license for transmitting a broadcast was given in February 1922, while the AIR was formed in June 1936. The most important time in the history of radio was during the Second World War, when this medium of addressing the masses became immensely significant. This was because the Nazis in Germany used it for propaganda, and by playing German music, which would give an impression that they had conquered the areas where the music was played, they would damage the morale of their rival forces. FM broadcasts first started in Chennai, then Madras in 1977, and in Jalandhar, Punjab in 1992. Private players came into the picture only in 1993. Radio later developed into a youth medium. Today, radio's approach is more local in nature, right from giving traffic updates to playing popular music. The advantage of this medium is that it is mobile, does not require reading ability, and can be enjoyed without demanding sole attention on the medium itself, unlike television. These days, the emergence of community radio is seen in large numbers, which makes for specialized programs for a niche audience. Television. Television first started developing in the 1920s and 1930s. After the printing press, television is considered to be the most important communication invention. By late 1940s and early 1950s, television had become a part of life of most of the developed countries. In India, Television was introduced with the objective of bringing out development in the year 1959. By 1970s, the content on TV included news, information and entertainment programs including Krishi Darshan, which began in January 1967 for farmers in 80 villages. Commercials were first telecast in January 1976. Today, the number of television channels in India outnumber the time one can afford to spend watching them even once a week. The race for TRPs, that is television rating points, which decide the popularity of a TV show or a channel, is of prime importance as it directly affects the ad revenue that the channel earns. In fact, for the very reason, channels do not mind compromising on work ethics or building agenda for public discussion for their vested interests. 24-hour news have become a reality with no sanctity of what should be called news. In fact, television creates reality that may sometimes not be real. For example, the portrayal of superwomen in Indian media, one who can single-handedly carry out all tasks in personal and professional and social life without faltering at any point of time, is the one who is termed the ideal Indian modern woman. Cinema. The earliest cinema was portrayal of real events, shots in motion without any sound, storyline or plot. They were just black and white, larger than life size, silent scenes that first came up as early as 1896. The first Indian movie is said to be Raja Harishchandra, which too was a silent movie made in the year 1913 by one of the pioneers of Indian cinema, Dada Saheb Phalke. The first talkie, that is film that could talk, in India was Alam Ara, made in 1931. In the years to come, regional cinema also flourished. Contemporary films have not just remained a form of art for its lovers to delight in, they have also started taking up contemporary issues, which makes for both entertainment and food for thought. The relationship of cinema with society is very complex. It has been found to have an effect on the psychology of the audience, while the degree of audience acceptability has varied from one film to another, looking at their experimental nature and low investments over the past 4 to 5 years. While romance, comedy and depiction of real life situation click with the audience most of the times, while horror films are much less accepted. The Central Board of Film Certification in India looks into the matters of what can go to the larger masses and what may disturb their sensibilities. Following a certain code of ethics, they either allow or censor objectionable scenes in a film. Also, based on whether they can affect the minds of the more impressionable section of the society, the films are certified as U or universal, meant for all age groups, and A or adult, that is meant for people only above 18 years of age. Folk media. This media has been alive in our society since ancient times and has been used for conveying political, social and moral messages. The advantage of such a medium is that it is personalized, that is members of the same community perform it, and is used where audience fully accept it, which makes the communication effective. It relates to all age groups of people and is inexpensive. Mainly confined to rural India, this is special in every part of the country. For example, Tamasha and Pavala in Maharashtra, Yakshagana in Karnataka, Jatra in Bengal, Bhavai in Gujarat, and Nautanki, Ramleela and Rasleela in the northern states of India. They may be satirical or sharp in their messages sometimes, but are efficient tools of communication. Many NGOs also make use of these forms, considering how powerful a medium it is. Government bodies in rural areas also make use of folk medium to pass on health or agriculture or any other development issue, related messages that are smartly imbibed in traditional folk songs, dances, and mythological stories. That is what makes it a powerful tool of development communication. So far, we discussed the conventional media. The new media is the internet. Let's see how it has revolutionized the world. Internet. The first calculator, abacus, was the predecessor of computer, which was first used by Egyptians in 460 BC. Some scholars also mention about the Chinese abacus. Charles Babbage, an Englishman, is called the father of computer, who first produced designs for a computer that could make calculations based on stored memory. The internet as we know it today has fast developed to replace and merge most communication devices and technologies. Today they are used in educational institutions, commercial and business organizations, government departments, international organizations, and the defense sector. But these are the major sectors. It has made its inroads even into the lives of most individuals and made them have an internet identity. Virtual reality has almost become literal with the kind of involvement it has in our day to day lives. It has most evident advantages but also perils that stand out from the rest. While social networking has helped in building interpersonal connections in far and distant lands for personal and professional reasons without spending as much as a penny, it has also led to antisocial and aggressive behavior on the net. For example, writing hate mails about personalities, organizations, and religions, defaming and harassing people by posting morphed photographs or posting nasty things by hacking their accounts, and different kinds of cyber crimes like hacking bank accounts and even child molesters contacting children through chat rooms. Whatever its dangers, internet has taken the world by storm and there is no stopping it. Moreover, as referred to earlier, each individual conventional medium has computer-related technology to operate it. As all TV and radio has turned to digital, from analogous, printing has become cheaper by the aid of computer in the form of desktop printing. Newspapers and magazines use computer for designing and editing. There are e-books and e-music available, and at the click of a mouse and films and videos use this technology too. So far, we have understood what mass communication means, how mass media developed, and what are the special features and characteristics of different media forms, both conventional and new media. Now let us analyze the conventional and contemporary views of mass media. Unit 1.5 Mass Communication, the conventional view. To make the study of the conventional and contemporary view, let us try to analyze communication through its characteristics and economics. Conventional communication characteristics. The conventional view of mass communication considered media to be all-powerful. The communication was made from a single source to anonymous and heterogeneous multitudes of audience irrespective of their tastes, interests, and preferences. The audience was considered passive who would accept anything served to them by media. A few controllers of media, through their media empires, decided what should and should not go into the public domain or what should be the public agenda. They were instrumental in creating tastes and opinions of the audience. So they not only acted as gatekeepers in media, but also helped in setting media's agenda. These functions are called the gatekeeping and agenda setting functions of media respectively. While the messages were undifferentiated, that is same for all audience alike, the motive was to create some kind of consensus among all by creating similar tastes and viewpoints. The feedback to such a communication was negligible and was not given much importance. Conventional media economics. Conventional media economics. Alongside these characteristics, the economics of media also towed a different line. You all know that media get their revenues from advertising. Larger the circulation of newspapers and greater the television rating points, that is TRPs, for television channels, more profitable will be the business. In such a conventional system, media required as much audience as they could possibly get to generate revenue through advertising. The audience was not systematically targeted as it was not differentiated according to market needs. Unit 1.6 Mass Communication, the Contemporary View. Contemporary communication. Convergence has been phenomenal in defining the contemporary view of mass communication as we know it today. Convergence is the phenomenon of merging technologies and producing more than one different kind of output while also making its use simpler. Convergence, along with further technological innovations, made the media market consumer oriented. With the onset of 24 hours news channels and numerous entertainment channels, more magazines and newspapers, more FM channels on radio, there was a huge variety of content for the consumer to pick and choose from. There was something for all segments of audience, be they housewives, children, adults, or people who looked for serious news and opinions. This gave the media consumers the liberty to form their own opinion and created competition among various media platforms. That is intermedia competition like that between print and electronic media, as well as the media groups owning similar media segments. Intramedia competition like between different newspapers. Meanwhile, control shifted into the hands of the consumer, who became spoiled for choice and wielded control by simply zapping channels or choosing to change the newspaper that came to his house. Also, while technology became an easy to use product, consumers also found themselves becoming the producers of content. For example, they could now create their own websites or blogs, create their own movies and upload them for everyone to see. Citizen journalism is another case in the point. As they were the producers as well as consumers of media communication, they came to be called as prosumers. Media economics. There was a greater focus on media marketing innovations, with media enticing the audience by various ways to opt for their product. Price war ensued between media organizations, and every media tried to slash their prices as much as they could while aiming to build their circulation or TRPs. Every medium started marketing itself like any other usable commodity, say soap or shampoos. Media also collaborate with products or services other than media to sell themselves. Most of the organizations wanted to own more media platforms. For example, a newspaper also owned a radio channel, a TV channel, an event management company, and a news agency. This not only benefited in creating monopolies in the markets that they operated in, but also helped in creating a self-sufficient support system for all their media platforms. But what was more, they were in a better position to negotiate with their advertisers with better offers and packages. The media companies today are ready to pay route as per audience demands, encourage audience participation and feedback while also aiming at profit maximization. Unit 1.7 Media and Social Construction of Reality. Media were earlier instrumental in creating public opinion the way they desired and continue to influence it in contemporary times as well. Media cannot be counted as less powerful even now. There are certain changes that media brings about in a subtle manner which the audience does not consciously realize until the society where these media operate is high on media literacy scale. Unfortunately, for India, this is not the case. There are a number of reasons for this that are like varying demographics, cultures, religions, buying capacities, exposure levels, etc. But before that, let us try and understand what social construction of reality means and how media creates it. Social construction of reality is the portrayal of reality presented to the audience as media see it. It is a kind of distorted reality presented by the media with a certain agenda to promote. That is, be profit making through sensationalism, certain portrayal of a given section of the society, or stereotyping modern women by some predefined moral and cultural societal values and norms. To understand this better, consider a few examples. A number of advertisements on the Indian television channels talk about fairness creams and their measurable effectiveness for both men and women in order to help them look attractive. Unconsciously, fairness has become one of the parameters of beauty in India. Media has promoted it, and people have, due to subtle influence that message reinforcement creates over the years, accepted it for generations now. Let us look at some more examples. That modern Indian is pictured in the media as one who is more of a superwoman. That is, one who handles the responsibilities of the family and profession successfully and errorless. She cooks well, dresses well, and wins over in board meetings. She is morally upright, and she is a loving mom and a dutiful housewife and never falters in any role. Such a portrayal is never practically possible, but Indian media depicts her as a blend of traditionalism and modernity, and this is how a modern Indian woman is perceived by the public at large. This perceived reality, through which media give role models to the society or create images of different realities, is the social construction of reality. We call it social construction because we as a culture believe it to be true. That is why media theorists believe that reality is not what is real, reality is what is perceived. Communication consists of signs and symbols. Communication scientists believe that while objective meanings are attached to symbols, for example, a red light at a traffic signal means the same to everyone, signs are more complex to comprehend and as they may mean differently to different people. They have subjective meanings. Unit 1.8. Let us sum up. Media never promised to work for philanthropy, though they were created to be socially responsible. It remained on us, the audience, to stay aware of the kind of content that it was offering and select or reject it collectively. Initially, the statesmen of the country wanted to see the media strong on both national and regional levels of the country, as the objectives for which they were planned were different. But once this entity became powerful, it diverted its focus to suit its needs. Now the society looks for someone with whom the buck would rest. But the truth is that nobody can or will solely shoulder the responsibility. Only the audience, denouncing malpractices of media and introducing synthetic value system in Indian society, can bring about a change in what is being served to the audience in the name of news, entertainment and role models. Change always takes long and is never easy. The future holds hope. What remains to be seen is whether or not our media with the people would be able to meet the challenge or not. So with this, we come to an end of Unit 1. Hope all of you like the audio video. Please do like, share, subscribe and comment below and let us know your feedbacks. Thank you.